master key open your car. This is a violation.
That was the first sentence I heard at 7:12 a.m., before my brain even remembered its own name. I stepped onto my porch holding a mug of coffee I hadn't emotionally bonded with yet, and there she was, Karen, bent over my truck like a burglar with a Pinterest board. She was violently shoving a shiny brass key into my driver's door, twisting it like she was trying to summon a demon instead of unlock a vehicle. When I cleared my throat, she spun around, eyes blazing. "All vehicles in this neighborhood must allow HOA emergency access," she declared. "Your refusal is highly suspicious." I hadn't said a word. The key failed again. Karen gasped like my truck had personally insulted her mother, whipped out her phone, and called 911, right in front of me. "Yes, hello? There's a non-compliant male preventing a mandatory HOA safety inspection. He's hostile." She pointed at me like I'd stolen my own car. What she didn't know was the man she just described as a community threat was the county sheriff. I sipped my coffee slowly while she paced and nodded dramatically into her phone. To her, I wasn't a neighbor. I was a vehicular terrorist. And that shiny little brass key, it wasn't about access. It was about control. And Karen had just unlocked the worst mistake of her entire HOA career. Karen's 911 call ended the way most of her decisions did, with stunned silence and her storming away like a malfunctioning Roomba. By the time the deputy arrived and realized she had just reported the county sheriff for refusing a fake HOA inspection, Karen's face went completely blank, like Windows 95 had crashed in her brain. She didn't apologize. She retreated, and that's when the fines started. First was the handwritten citation taped to my windshield. Unauthorized government imagery, $45. Apparently my sheriff's badge was visually disruptive. I laughed so hard my coffee came out my nose, and then I created the binder. Every fake fine went in: excessive driveway confidence, aggressive headlight posture, unauthorized tire personality, shadow exceeding HOA comfort threshold. Karen even fined my neighbor because his car was too red emotionally. The turning point came when she knocked on my door and said, "For emergency safety, the HOA will require a copy of your vehicle key." I stared at her. "No." She blinked like nobody had ever denied her oxygen before. "We'll revisit this," she whispered, the way movie villains do right before the third act disaster. The next morning, I woke up to 26 neon orange flags lining my driveway like I was landing a plane. Each one read, "Vehicle access claim pending, gate under review." A gate across my driveway, on property the HOA didn't even own. Karen wasn't enforcing rules anymore. She was designing her own reality, and I was quietly collecting the receipts. By the time I came home from town that afternoon, a tow truck was parked halfway into my driveway. The driver was staring at a crumpled note like it was written in Alien. "The HOA says this truck is abandoned." "Abandoned?" I said, still sitting in it. He squinted at the sheriff emblem on the door and turned pale. "She didn't mention that part." He reversed so fast, I think he bent time. The next morning, I walked outside and nearly dropped my mug. My truck was booted. A bright yellow wheel clamp with a laminated tag, HOA impound, release fee, $390. Karen strutted out in orthopedic sandals like she'd just conquered France. "Respect community authority," she smirked. So I called a deputy. When he arrived and asked who placed the clamp, Karen proudly said, "I did. I bought it online. It comes in different colors." That was the exact moment the entire street learned the phrase tampering with a government vehicle. She had to remove the clamp while muttering about tyranny and rogue automobiles. But instead of stopping, Karen escalated. She created a fake group called the Neighborhood Mobility Council, demanded $89 harmony fees, and QR coded her own PayPal. Then came the plywood barricade across my driveway. I lifted it with one hand and leaned it against a tree with a sticky note. "Nice decor. Wrong house." By Friday, the HOA board had finally snapped, and that's when they called me. Reminder to viewers, if this story has you laughing, like this video, comment your city and time, and don't forget to subscribe. Authority does not exempt you from harmony. That was the sentence Karen screamed as the board meeting opened, her last battle cry before everything fell apart. The room was packed. Neighbors held stacks of her fake fines like courtroom evidence. One guy had even printed a poster that read, "Wheel humility violation. How is this real?" Karen marched in wearing a blazer and a fake earpiece like she was guarding the president of driveways. When the board told her to sit down, she laughed. Then I stood up. I calmly walked through the timeline: the master key, the 911 call, the wheel clamp, the tow attempt, the fake mobility council, the PayPal QR code, the plywood gate, the neon runway flags. The projector lit up with receipts. The room went silent. Then the board called for a vote. Hands went up like popcorn in hot oil. Karen raised hers, alone. She was removed instantly. She exploded. "This neighborhood will descend into vehicular anarchy," she shrieked, storming out. 2 days later, deputies served her for harassment, impersonating authority, and attempted fraud. Her final act? Mailing me a glitter bomb, disarmed, with a note, "This is what restraint looks like." Spring came. A new HOA president sent me homemade jam and apologized for the great vehicle crisis. Months later, a clerk from county records dropped by with a folder. Karen had filed paperwork to become HOA president of a brand new development 30 miles south. Different street, same clipboard, because no matter where she goes, Karen always finds another driveway to conquer. What would you have done if someone tried to open your car with a master key? Tell us in the comments. Share this story with your loved ones. Tell us where you're watching from. It makes us happy to see how far our stories go. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.